Will the real Ron DeSantis please stand up? Tonight, I'll review Governor DeSantis' Public Health Integrity Committee meeting and his calls for a statewide grand jury to investigate what he says is wrongdoing in Florida regarding the C-19, his words, vaccines. And before you shout out your opinion, hold on until we review two very dangerous laws currently on the Florida books that make China look like child's play. This is the Dr. Jane Ruby Show, and you're about to enter Truth in Medicine. Welcome to the Dr. Jane Ruby Show on this Friday, December 15th, 2022. Well, this week, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida convened what he called a Public Health Integrity Committee, consisting of what he considered a panel of experts, including Jay Bhattacharya, professor of medicine at Stanford, Tracy Hogue, a researcher, Dr. Joseph Freyman, an ER doc from New Orleans, Steve Templeton, an associate professor of microbiology at Indiana University, and someone named Brett Weinstein, a public intellectual and former professor of evolutionary biology, and a few other bits of word salad. What is this all about? There's another professor, Christine. She's in global health at the University of Southern Denmark. What that has to do with American health policy in Florida, I have no idea. And someone named Martin Kulderoff, a biostatistician and former professor at Harvard. Woo. During the event, Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo said he would be creating a surveillance system to track sudden deaths that may be due to the vaccines. But he sounded way too conciliatory to the pharmaceutical companies when he said, quote, "It's a question that I'm sure keeps the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna up late at night, hoping no one ever looks." No, sir, it doesn't keep them up at night because they know what they're doing and they know what the results are. And this is what you and Governor DeSantis and every other authority has pretended to overlook. Because I'm going to say something. If I know it, and I don't have the connections, the power, and the intel that a governor has, or that a state surgeon general has, then you should have known it. And you should have known it 18 months ago. Essentially, both these men, Governor DeSantis and Surgeon General Dr. Ladapo, are 18 months too late. Because when you say you're going to start a surveillance system after 3.5 million Americans have been dead, have been murdered, have been killed by these shots, you're a little late to the party, sirs. And in another recent statement, Governor DeSantis called for a Florida statewide grand jury to investigate wrongdoing in the state of Florida regarding the C-19 injections. Let's take a listen to this press conference and a look. Please roll the tape.
We now have created a public health integrity committee with some of the best researchers and medical professionals in the country to really serve as a way for Floridians and really Americans to get the truth about evidence-based medicine and not be fed all the propaganda that we've been fed for the last few years. And the fact of the matter is, you have these people that they still trot out there who have been wrong about almost everything along the way. And so now you have the situation, and in Florida, we put the kibosh on the vax mandates. They wanted to fire firefighters, all these others. We said you didn't. Anyone who mandated it violated Florida law. Of course, they should be held accountable. That is not appropriate to be doing.
Well, I'm going to break down a couple of things in that presser. First of all, he says we pulled together the best researchers and experts on this topic. No, sir, you did not. You picked, let me go over the names again, because I have an official list here. Jay Bhattacharya, MD, PhD, Martin Kulderoff, Tracy Hogue, Joseph Freeman, Christine Stable-Ben, Brett Weinstein, and Stephen Templeton. Most of those none of us have ever heard of. Doesn't mean they're not credentialed, doesn't mean they're not legitimate researchers. But how did you pick those people, Governor DeSantis or Surgeon General Ladapo? What went into all the hundreds of thousands of experts and so many of us on the medical freedom movement trail? We're visible. We're out there. We're getting the word out for 18 to 24 months now. We're on the airwaves. Surgeon General Ladapo certainly knows the Stu Peters network because he's been on it. So how did you pick these people that we now understand all of them are pro-injection? So we're going to hear things from them like, well, we still need the flu shot. And, well, the C-19 shots were good for the elderly, but we agree they shouldn't be given to children. And all this crap that you've been fed, that we on the front lines as doctors and experts and researchers have been trying to provide you with the truth, to sort it out, to correct. Right? Not one person that I know of from the health freedom movement, but a lot of yes people. Yeah, vaccines are good. Because DeSantis, like any politician, has to count the votes in the room. And before you go off and say, ooh, Dr.Jane is anti-Ron DeSantis because she wants to push Trump. I don't push Trump. Anybody who's been in my channel for the last year or two knows I've called anyone out when I saw something wrong. I don't push Trump. In fact, I posted on my Telegram channel that ridiculous ad for his Trump cards. Look, it's America. It's supposedly free market capitalism. You want to throw your money down the hole for anything? For a pet rock? For a fake Trump card that you can't even hold and trade? I mean, that's your business. Knock yourself out. But I'm not paying for your welfare when you run through all your money for ridiculous things like that. And let's take a look at this. He said, we put the kibosh on first responders getting kicked out. I know a ton of first responders in the state of Florida that took the shots because they had to. So I don't know how that gets reconciled. But you didn't put the kibosh on SB 7014 and SB 2006, which are no-brainers. And we'll talk about those in the second segment. So don't go anywhere on that. I want to talk about this roundtable, and I want to share some information with you on it. But then he says in this presser, anybody who forced those injection mandates in the state of Florida violated Florida law, and they should be held accountable. Hello? You're the authority. Governor DeSantis, you're the authority. They violated your laws, your executive orders, your strike down of mandates. Where's the due process? Where are the indictments? Where are the requests for criminal referrals? So many of you, now you're bringing down Governor. He's a big boy. He can handle it. They can all handle it. The whole ball of wax, whether it's DeSantis or Carrie Lake or Trump or whoever you want to, let me tell you something. They're all politicians. Now, maybe some of them specifically didn't get you into this, but they'll get you into other things, and they're not getting you out. The sooner you really wrap yourself around that reality, the sooner you can begin to participate in taking back your local authority, controlling what your children are exposed to in society, especially in public schools if you're still stupid enough to send them there. They're politicians. They have one goal, and one goal only, and that's to get reelected, to keep the money going, to keep the power going. Did you know that we're still under a state of emergency in the state of Florida for COVID? Governor DeSantis extended it. But we don't talk about that, do we? We don't talk about that. So let me read you a couple of excerpts from Natural News. This is I believe it's a Brighteon or Mike Adams publication. As for DeSantis's roundtable, and by the way, this article was pro DeSantis, so I'm just taking out some data so we can talk about it. The Florida Standard noted the 7 people. I've seen Jay Bhattacharya, but he's a middle of the road, So the article lists the 7 people. And then they note that during the event, Dr. Latipo said his office would be creating a surveillance system to track sudden deaths. As I said before, that may be attributable to the vaccines. Okay, you heard that quote. Then he says, we're bringing back common sense to public health recommendations. They're not recommendations, they were mandates. We were locked down here in Florida. Every county had a mask mandate where your little shop owner, little Karen, screamed at us at the door to get out because we didn't have a mask on. Got Palm Beach County Sheriff called on me once in Del Rey for not wearing a mask outside on a porch. Didn't do anything about those things. They're going to bring common sense back. We will be issuing recommendations that make sense and are scientifically valid. Whose science? These 7 people? I don't want you making recommendations. I don't want you in my health care. I don't want you in my body with your thermometers and your masks. Because when you use words like common sense back to public health recommendations and scientifically valid, and what was the other term? This repetitive. We're going to use, here it is, legitimate science-based approach. Legitimate science-based approach. By the way, on products that never went through legitimate science-based processes. And they're not going through them now. Remember, Dr.Jane is one of the very few pharmaceutical industry insider. Dr. Michael Yeadon is another. I don't consider the whistleblowers that are very good. I'm proud of them. They courageously brought out, but they're contract research organizations. Karen Kingston was an external analyst who did some work for Pfizer, contracted work. Those are the people that when the company really wanted to talk about the truth would say, could we have all the vendors leave the room right now in our meetings? And then they'd tell us, hey, the data's crap. What are we going to do? How are we going to, what are we going to do? We need to do another study. What are we going to do? Okay. You want to talk about a real insider? We know how the sausage is made. Okay. There are very few of us. Remember, these products, all of the C-19 and the current flu shots, none of them went through the proper phase 1 through 3 studies, which are set up by FDA and federal regulations and laws. They're abandoned. And they're still not being used to bring you the new trivalent for the new triple-demic of COVID, the government's old friend, RSV, and influenza A and B. They're still not going through the proper processes. Not that they're really legitimate vaccines, because we're going to talk to Todd Callender on the Dr. Jane Ruby Show on Monday. You don't want to miss this show. He is going to be with me the whole show because he has a lot of information, a lot of evidence that the current flu shots and the ones coming are deadly. And they're just as deadly as the C-19 shots. And he's going to bring you that information. And I wanted to get it out Monday because later next week, y'all are going to be like we all are, mentally starting to get our heads into seeing family again and friends and you know, all the hustle and bustle of the season, Hanukkah, Christmas. But Monday, because I want you to be aware and I want you to avoid and make everybody you love avoid getting a seasonal flu shot. It's a safety thing. You know, it's just the flu shot. It's okay. Get your flu shot. It's not a COVID shot. It's dangerous. Okay. Says here in the article, DeSantis was praised in many circles for using a legitimate science-based approach to policies adopted during the pandemic. He refused to implement statewide masking. Guess what? If you were in Broward County, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach, that is a huge chunk, land-wise and population-wise, in the state of Florida. It's like the lower third, okay? And the counties ignored Governor DeSantis, and he would pound his chest a few times in some pressers. Never did anything about it. Never brought legal action or used his state authority as governors to hold those counties accountable. And those counties used their sheriffs, their police, their everything they had, their school boards to torture and remove all personal health rights from the citizens. And I'll never forget it. Yes, did it all end earlier here? Yeah, but it was still here. And then says, he went so far as to legally forgive Floridians who were issued fines by city employees to take a vaccine and pushed to keep school. Pushed. Couldn't control it. Didn't bring lawsuits from the state against these school boards. Didn't shut their funding down from the state. You see all the things they can do that they didn't? But he pushed. And now he can say when he goes up for re-election or goes to run for president, but I pushed. Ron Johnson pushes. Rand Paul pushes. I'm pushing. Give me a break. And DeSantis moved early on to protect nursing home residents. You know, at some point he did, but he definitely made the shots available in large amounts to the nursing homes, right? Because he was counting the votes in the room. Because a lot of those people vote for him, right? I want to move ahead. Look, while I applaud any effort by any authorities to investigate, prosecute, and punish criminal conspiracists, these cabalists, these companies, the people working on their behalf, I also want to point out how late they are to the party. And I'm just tired of hearing, oh, but at least they're doing something, and it's more than what others are doing. You all have been conditioned to accept the crumbs, to accept the normalization of these atrocities gone unaccounted for. Yeah, nobody was going to do anything. Okay, what time is soccer? And when the slightest action by a Ron Johnson or Rand Paul or Ron DeSantis occurs, many of you are all too quick to sit up, excitedly applauding the crumbs. Well, I don't, because these actions are late. They're late. They were absent, simply absent, month after month after month, while many of us in independent media and elsewhere tolled the bell for those suffering and dying. Dying immediately, dying several weeks later, dying a year later, pilots dropping dead on takeoff, teenagers dropping dead on soccer fields. Oh, they're dropping dead? Oh, okay. Honey, what time do you want to get some burgers tonight? What time? Hey, when are we going to get on the boat? Millions of Americans permanently disabled. They have difficulty walking. Millions of hearts. These incredible organs. Beautiful organs that beat blood into your body for almost 100 years. Permanently damaged. Gone, stopped, quiet. And where have these men been? Surgeon General Ladapo says we're bringing back common sense to public health recommendations. Just weeks ago, Dr. Ladapo looked at the science and declared that men between the ages of 18 and 39 should not take these shots. Well, if this is your legitimate science-based approach, sirs, you're off the mark. Because this is the type of half-assed look into the science that results in partial recommendations, leaving others to die. That's not going to right this ship. That's not going to impact anything. Because newsflash, if it's poisonous to people between the ages of 18 and 39, it's poisonous for everyone. So here's my shout out to Governor Ron DeSantis and Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo. These are poisonous. Much of it is undeclared. We don't even know what's in these things. We do know that there is gene-changing circuitry, self-assembling technology that was never put through the proper processes to be given the legal term safe and effective. I don't see one pharmaceutical medical insider researcher like myself or Dr. Michael Yeadon on that list of your integrity committee, your integrity. What integrity? They all are pro shots. And there are a number of us out here, and I urge you both to read my sworn affidavit. It's on my website, drjaneruby.com, which explains why every emergency use authorization and every approval for the C-19 shots are 100% illegal. No matter how many presidential or executive orders are signed, and no matter how many versions of the PrEP Act are put into motion, there was no scientific method applied to these materials before they were wantonly and indiscriminately injected into babies, made their way into fetuses in the womb, for many of which did not ever make it to birth. In the next section, we're going to look at some serious conflicts of interest in the record of Governor Ron DeSantis so that you can weigh that against what he claims he's doing now. Because this is a great opportunity to hold him accountable for what he says he's going to do. I'll be right back. Hey everyone, the last time the economy looked like this, the stock market was down by 50% and the dollar by 46%. And while the U.S. economy collapsed with wild inflation, the price of gold and silver shot through the roof. Now, if history repeats itself, we could be seeing this again. Can you afford to miss what could be the biggest gold and silver boom of our generation? I want to suggest that you call Goldco at 855-791-2619, because when you do, you'll not only get a chance to protect your retirement savings with physical gold and silver, but you can get up to $10,000 in free silver just for doing it. This is a rare opportunity, so don't miss the chance to protect your retirement savings. That's Goldco at 855-791-2619.